Hello and welcome everyone. Today's video features the brand new premium Tier 8 German battleship Anhalt. Now the Anhalt will be available from the 16th of September for 12,800 doubloons and also for various price bundles in the premium store. Now for one lucky winner, however, you can pick up the Anhalt for free by entering the giveaway on this video. Now make sure you are subscribed to my channel and leave your World of Warships in-game name and the server you play on in the comment section below in the format you see here on screen. And I'll draw the winner in roughly 2 weeks on my live Twitch stream. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into my full review guide of the Anhalt, starting with the captain build, including upgrades and captain skills. Now, I will admit there is quite a lot of room for maneuver here, but I've eventually gone for a full tank build, and I'll explain my reasoning for this as we walk through the ship's characteristics, including both its strengths and weaknesses. The foundations for any strong battleship in this game starts and lies with its ability to tank and deal damage. So let's start with the armor layout of the Anhalt, and it is quite well armored, we can see here using a simple port screenshot. 32mm of bow and stern plating, reinforced by having an aft end and fore end armor belt. The upper part on both sides is 200mm with a lower submerged section of 170mm. The main deck gets a solid 50mm, while the superstructure gets 19mm plating. Now, the upper casemate armor consists of multiple sections. The top part is 170, the center section of upper casemate is 250mm, and the main belt armor is 350mm. Now, there is an additional submerged section of casemate that is 260mm. So for a Tier 8 battleship, this is quite solid indeed. Nice sections of fore and aft end armor belts, which really do provide very strong protection indeed. Anhalt, being a German battleship, also gets sloped internal armor, or better known as turtleback armor. So all this combined leads to a very strong competitive armor layout. Looking at the main battery gun turrets, the Anhalt's main battery guns get a frontal plating of 320mm, a top plating of 110mm, rear plating of 300mm, side plating of 200mm, and a section of topside slope plating of 180mm. So that's the armor protection on these turrets. Now, this ties directly into the ship's survivability. The Anhalt gets 69,500 hit points with a torpedo protection damage reduction of 27%. Now, this is further reinforced by having access to a total of 5 repair parties with this build. This repair party can heal potentially 417 hit points per second and has an action time of just under 31 seconds. Now, the Anhalt having just under 70,000 hit points, this is really quite tanky. It puts the Anhalt at the top of its range in comparison to other Tier 8 battleships, similar to the Bismarck and the Tirpitz. Moving on to the Anhalt's main battery, 15 350mm guns in 5 triple mounted turrets, 2 fore and 3 aft. These 350mm guns have a reload time of 30 seconds. They can rotate 180 degrees in 45 seconds. These guns have a 1.7 gun sigma value with a max horizontal dispersion of 272 meters and a max vertical dispersion of 163 meters. With this build, we can reduce the max dispersion to 252 meters, and the max firing range is 21.1 kilometers. This is really quite good. This also puts Anhalt in the top echelon in terms of range compared to other Tier 8 battleships. The Anhalt can fire both armor-piercing and high-explosive shells, and the high-explosive feels really quite powerful. These high-explosive shells can do a max damage of 4,000 with a 29% fire chance and very high penetration of 88 millimeters, and they have a shell speed of 815 meters per second. The armor-piercing shells can inflict a max alpha damage of 9,500 and have the exact same shell speed of 815 meters per second. Moving to the secondary armament, and now this is where we encounter one of the main reasons why I've gone for a tank build. Now the Anhalt gets 20 secondary guns in total, the majority of which are 105mm. Now these have a 3.2 second reload, a base range of 8.4 kilometers, firing high explosive with a max alpha of 1200, a 6% fire chance, and they can pen 26mm of armor with a shell speed of 900 meters per second. Anhalt gets additional secondary armament in the form of 8 single-mounted 150mm. These have a slower 8.1 second reload, the same 8.4 kilometer base range. They can inflict 1800 max alpha damage with an 11% fire chance, and these can pen 38mm of armor with a slightly slower shell speed of 835 meters per second. Now the reason I've gone with a full tank build here is I do find these secondaries a little underwhelming. If you make a direct comparison, Anhalt has less secondaries than other German battleships like the Bismarck, Tirpitz and Zieten, for example. So I always felt while playing a secondary build I was losing the advantage with the main battery guns having so many. Having a 1.7 sigma value on the guns does mean they feel pretty reliable, and even firing at max range. Your max range is 21.1 kilometers. Now remember, you also have a spotter aircraft, which adds an additional 20%, which increases your firing range to over 25 kilometers. Having 15 guns with a high fire chance and decent alpha damage with incredible penetration. You're even going to be penetrating the decks of German battleships. Very, very powerful indeed. And being at Tier 8, the vast majority of my games were against Tier 10s. I consistently came up against Tier 10s during these battles. Having this very powerful high explosive with high fire chance and high penetration, it meant I felt I was able to compete even at Tier 10, fighting Tier 10 battleships, and this is no mean feat. When coming up against same or lower tier, the high explosive felt very powerful. I also had more opportunities to use the armor piercing, which in itself is quite useful, having 350mm gun caliber and the large number of barrels. So all in all, the main battery does feel quite satisfying. Should you choose to go with a full secondary build, including IFPG, you can improve the penetration of the 105s to 32mm, and you can get the max firing range out to 11.5 kilometers. But due to the nature of the main battery being very good, in my opinion, I prefer the straight up tank accuracy build over a secondary build. But again, it's a personal choice. Moving on to the torpedoes, Anhalt gets 4 single-mounted 700mm torpedoes. Now these are very high damage. They have a 45-second reload time, 6 kilometers of range. They can inflict a max alpha damage of 20,633. They have a torpedo speed of 54 knots, and they can be detected at 1.7 kilometers. So very useful having high damage torpedoes in close range brawling engagements. Anhalt also gets access to the depth charge airstrike. This has a max operational range of 10 kilometers, a reload time of 30 seconds, 2 available flights with 1 aircraft per attack flight, which can drop 2 bombs per payload, and each bomb has a max damage of 4,200. When it comes to AA defense, Anhalt gets 14 single mounted 20mm, 16 quad mounted 20mm, 10 twin mounted 37mm, and finally the 6 twin mounted 105mm secondary guns are dual purpose. They double up as AA mounts. All combined, they pump out a continuous average damage of 263, the vast majority of which is short range, with a small amount of long range. Anhalt can fire 6 shell explosions per flak salvo, with a max damage of 1400, with a priority sector reinforcement of 35%. The only drawback I found with the Anhalt's AA is the max firing range. It's only 5.2 kilometers. So moving to the maneuverability, unfortunately, Anhalt gets quite a low base speed of 25 knots. Now one can increase this with the Sierra Mike signal flag to 26.3 knots. You can go with brisk, but I have gone with vigilance in this case. But you have a lot of flexibility here. You could quite easily go with brisk, or if you find yourself struggling with the turret traverse, you could go grease the gears. The turning circle radius is 900 meters, and the rudder shift time is 16 seconds. Now remember, you can adjust this. With the rudder shift mod, you could bring this down to 12.8 seconds. Due to the limited speed of the Anhalt, I've gone for the extra tanking capability added by the Damage Control System Mod 2. So finally, stats-wise, we come to the Anhalt's concealment rating of 53, which equates to a surface detection range of 12.2 kilometers. You will be surface detected by enemy submarines and enemy aircraft, both at 9.3 kilometers. So I hope you enjoyed this preview guide of the Tier 8 German Premium Anhalt. This is going to be available quite soon in the Premium Store. If you'd like to enter this giveaway, make sure you are subbed to my YouTube channel. Leave your in-game name and the server you play on in the comment section in the format you see on screen. If you'd like to see some live gameplay, I will be playing the Anhalt very soon on stream, so make sure to come on over and visit me on Twitch. You can see the link here on screen. I look forward to seeing you all. I'd like to thank you once again all for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more. Take a moment to check out some of my most recent videos and leave a comment below. And until the next time, keep sailing it like you stole it.